Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, heroes and villains. I'm your host, Deshaun Fauntleroy. Today, I have a special guest coming on to the show, Christa King. She's going to be discussing mind zoning. What is it? How does it work? Mind zoning for the athlete, the benefits of morning mind zoning, and we'll digress a little bit and discuss the best ways for the student athlete to get more veggies on their plate. Before I get into that, maybe we had it wrong in terms of stress. And this is something I'm going to talk about in a future episode when it comes to, we always hear about bad stress. You can't stress the athlete out. You can't stress the student out. But when we think about in times of prehistory, our ancestors, 1700s, 1800s, they used that stress in a good way. If you can think about or imagine hand-to-hand combat, individuals' eyes getting gouged out, seeing purple or blue and black blood coming out of somebody's neck right before, while you're in the middle of a war type situation. And now I'm starting to think differently about stress because we're being conditioned not to put the student under stress, or don't put too much stress on the student athlete. And maybe we're killing some things naturally from the past. But anyway, I digress. I got to do a little bit more research on that. I like the concept. I like the topic, and I'm going to discuss that further. Outside of that, I want to send a special shout out to Steve Mers of Output Performance. This guy is a professional bike fitter here in the Portland metro area. I consider him a friend and a colleague at the same time, and he's one of the few that I know of individuals that are endurance athletes that really love the Sports Mastery podcast. So special shout out to Steve Mers, who gives me lots of great feedback. I also want to send a shout out to the audience out there. If you have questions, do not hesitate to email me or send something through the contact page. I want to know how I can help you more. What can I do for you? What would you like to hear more of? So without further ado, I have Christa King from Fitlandia coming on to the show. Yes, you heard it right, Fitlandia. So Christa, tell us about Fitlandia and tell us who you are and Fitlandia and everything about you.
Awesome. Well, it's great to be a part of your show, Deshaun. Thank you so much for having me on. So I am the CEO and founder of Fitlandia, which is an online holistic fitness platform that's really on a mission to help people end the dieting cycle by first changing the neural pathways in their brain. So that's like it in a nutshell. And I know we're going to talk about mind zoning today, but I'll share a little bit about my history. I call myself a recovered dieter because I too had been challenged with that yo-yo dieting cycle, like understanding which foods work best in my body, but most importantly, how to overcome the old mindset and really create new thought patterns in my brain so that I could enjoy a lifetime of fitness. So through my learnings as a certified hypnotherapist, a health coach, a nutritional therapist, I took all those concepts together, and I'm really out to create a global platform with that mission to end dieting for everyone.
Wow, that's incredible. It sounds like you've connected a bunch of dots, Christa, that's enhanced your success. What has worked with you so far in terms of connecting with parents, moms and dads, the adult dieters? I don't know if you work with athletes, but I know your topic is perfect for athletes. And the reason why I say that is I often encourage the parent athlete or the coach and athlete to participate in the Sports Mastery program together. And I can see we have some synergies. That was why I was adamant about having you on this show.
Yeah, most definitely. I think, I was an athlete in both high school and college. And, my coaches always talked about engaging the power of the mind, the power of visualization. And it's really no different with my audience and who I connect with. So, most of my demographic is type A, super busy moms that, are running their families. And so I love that you bring together students and their parents together because that's really powerful. And I love to throw out this statistic that we are 3 times more successful at making a permanent lifestyle change or succeeding at any of our goals when we're connected with community, meaning the people that we're surrounded by become a part of our success. So certainly the parents are teaching the students, but the students are teaching the parents. And that's one of the principles that I like to share with Fitlandia too, is that whatever we're teaching to the moms, the dads, even the single people, that they're actually sharing that and spreading that out in their community too, to engage more people so that they build up their support network and strengthen that.
You know what? You said something interesting earlier about the student being able to teach the parent or the student being able to teach the coach. And what I found is you have some student athletes, they just want to be heard. Sometimes you just have to listen to the student athlete or the young adult. And I can appreciate you validating some of my points. What I found that some of my greatest compliments in the past have been, you know what, Deshaun? Little Johnny or little Susie is cleaning their room. They're getting up early. I only have to say something once to them. And what I do in my program, I reaffirm that. Make sure you clean up your room tomorrow. Make sure you don't talk back to your mom. Make sure you tell your parents you love them, and it kind of brings it all together, because sometimes it's hard for the parent or the coach that was an ex-athlete and they know this process, but their mom and dad, and they're every day clean up the room, every day do the dishes, every day clean up the bathroom, where someone like myself, I'm kind of like a buffer in between that, or a bridge to bring that communication together.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Whether you're a student developing your athleticism, whether you're a parent that's supporting that, whether you're someone that's, trying to get fit and create a lifestyle of fitness, it's a holistic process, right? You can't just have one piece and not strengthen the other areas. They all have to come together. So I think that's, another reason why you and I connected so well, is because we do see this as a holistic approach. You can't do it without one of the parts functioning.
Yeah, it is a holistic approach. And in my practice, one thing that I found in terms of working with several thousand athletes over the last 8 to 9 years is that the earlier we start, the better. So what I'm telling people, if you're listening to me in the audience, parents, moms and dads, coaches, mentors, foster parents, this sports mastery program, and I can tell you Christa's program, we can start as early as 7th and 8th grade. And what I found is when I get athletes that young, they tend to be successful and stay successful from 9th, 10th on to graduation and on into college. The flip side of that is I found that if bad habits have been ingrained and we're catching an athlete about 10th, 11th, sometimes 12th grade, it is a very tough process to undo to get that commitment. The kids that I found at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they absorb things like sponges, and I don't know why that is. I just found that to be a phenomenon in my business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the sooner you can start. And that's why I love that, those that are a part of Fitlandia can deliver that to their children. I mean, that's really a benefit that we all get as parents, right? I'm not personally a parent, but that's a universal experience, as you always want to deliver the best for your kids, and that comes with leadership from the parents. But I also want to put some positivity for the adults out there that are thinking, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, or that's exactly what, and I know we're going to talk about mind zoning, but that's what mind zoning overcomes, is those deep-rooted negative thought patterns that are preventing you from living a life of vitality. So whether you're a student, whether you're a parent, you can change your brain. It's just the fastest way to tap into it is to really quiet your mind and get to the deep unconscious level versus just the conscious change that we tend to focus on.
Yeah, I know you're a fast runner, so we might as well get into it and talk about, let's get right to it and discuss how to harness the powers of the mind. First of all, Christa, I want to ask you, what is mind zoning?
Yes. So mind zoning, it's simple. It's the process of creating new positive neural pathways in the brain. So folks have probably heard that we have lots of neuroplasticity, meaning whatever those neural pathways are that we've developed, those thought patterns, those unconscious behaviors, we have the ability to change those. So just like in meditation, everyone's been hearing so much lately about the benefits of meditation, which I could not be a bigger proponent of myself. But with mind zoning, it's very similar, but it's slightly different in that you're actually being more active in it. So here's how I like to compare the two. Meditation is the process of quieting the mind, getting it really focused, really allowing your brain some space, kind of like breathing room to relax, right? Well, it's in that relaxed, focused state that our unconscious mind, those neural pathways, can be changed much more easily. So with mind zoning, they're basically guided audio recordings that people can listen to that helps first get them into that relaxed, focused state, just like a meditation. But now they're listening to a guided message from me or some other, I have different voices, male, female, so it keeps it interesting on how to create a new thought pattern. So for example, we have one called The New You Now that invites your brain to create a new blueprint of what health looks like to you. So if you imagined a future version of you having already achieved all of your goals, all of your fitness goals, whether it's in diet and fitness and creating a healthy lifestyle, or it's taking your sportsmanship to the next level. What does that look like? What does that feel like? And then I actually invite you to step into that future version of you to actually experience what it feels like to be in that new body. How does your energy change? How does your posture change? How do your emotions change? What that does is amplifies that sensation in the brain, locking it in, saying, not only does this look good, but it feels good. And that totally amps up and helps create that new thought pattern even faster.
Are they taking notes or are they writing this down too before they come back and express, where they see themselves at, whether it's a year from now, 2 years or 5 years, before they express that to you?
So because these are all audio recordings, they actually do this within their own mind. So they're not expressing this to me. But what I always recommend is after you've listened to a session and they run between 3 minutes and 45 minutes, depending on which recording you listen to, that at the end of those that you take some notes on what your experience was. Because what happens when we're tapping into the unconscious mind, we also have the opportunity to pull so much information about all of our past experiences. And that could include opportunities to unblock obstacles that we've been holding on to, whether it's a childhood trauma that's been keeping us locked in a certain pattern, or just a habit where we have this awareness where we can change it. So, having a journal beside you so that after you listen to the recording, you can document that is perfect. When I work with people one-on-one in person, we're actually having that dialogue the entire time. And it's a very different experience than listening to the recording because I'm actually guiding them through it.
You know what? I really appreciate what you're discussing here because there's a step-by-step process in terms of listening to the audio, even thinking about where you want to be, just taking time to reflect alone without being distracted because we live in such a fragmented world by doing things from day to day, all the different social media outlets that distract us, let alone some of the other things. But you have to take time to quiet the mind, think about what Coach Christa wants you to do, and then do that, listen to the audio. Then you're able to journal about your experience. So you're probably wondering where I'm going with this. And this is what I always tell my athletes. And I've got this from one of my licensed clinical social workers that refers athletes to me. And one of his favorite phrases is, you have to do the work. Student athletes, parents, it's just as simple as that. All you have to do is just do the work on time. If it's Coach Christa or myself, do it in a timely manner. You don't want to wait to the last minute when we're having a meetup because there's no time for reflection at that point.
Right. I love what you're talking about here because I want to give everyone an analogy that helps them understand when we're trying to do something on a conscious level versus a subconscious level. So when you talk about relaxing the mind, giving yourself that opportunity to focus, when you're giving your students the instruction, carving that time out so it's not rushed, so it's not chaotic. The reason why that is so important is our brain is most open to change and new suggestions when we are in a relaxed, focused state. So think about it like a salmon swimming upstream to spawn, right? It's fighting the current. It's working really hard. It gets to its destination and then it dies. That's exactly what working on a conscious level is like. You're fighting it. You're fighting it. Suddenly, when you're doing that same work in a relaxed, quiet state, it's almost like the salmon is turned around, is being carried by the waves, taken right into the direction that it wants. So I just want to really support and empower everyone listening that really things become easier when we carve out the time in advance to allow our minds to get quiet, relaxed, and focused, and then do the work, because then you're actually locking that into the mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a 5-star show. This is Christa King on here. It took me a while to pin her down, but you're listening to an excellent individual. Visit Sports Mastery on iTunes. Rate and review. Rate this 5 stars. Don't be the person that rates this 4 stars, 3 stars, or 2 stars. This is an excellent person that I have. Excellent guest. Really appreciate and respect her time. Christa, tell us about mind zoning for the athlete.
Yes. So your brain is kind of like the master planner of your life. And whatever blueprint is in your mind, that is what will physically manifest in your life. So whether it's drawing in abundance, whether it's drawing in health, whether it's drawing in that next level of your sports mastery, right? So what I always encourage people to do, and this is the easiest way any of your students can do mind zoning for themselves, is to just close their eyes, take about 10 really deep breaths, like expanding the belly, and envisioning letting go all the stress and worry of the day, giving themselves this dedicated time and just to relax. And then inviting them to visualize themselves as like the ultimate performing athlete. What does that look like? How does their hand move? How does their leg move? What kind of muscular strength do they have? What kind of mental strength have they developed? Just think about, what does it look like to be at the very top of your game? What does that look like? What does it feel like? Then step into that body and embrace it, and then feel that. Are you faster? Are you more resilient? Is your endurance increased? Do you feel more energized? Do you feel invincible? And then just imagine cranking up the volume on that feeling, just like the dial on a radio. Just crank up the volume so you feel that in every part of your cell. You're telling every cell in your body, this is who I am. This is who I am capable of. You're telling your brain, now go out and become that.
Wow, Christa, this is a high-powered presentation and conversation that you're giving here. I really can't wait to get this out to my audience. She's delivering a lot in a short time, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We're discussing how to harness the powers of the mind. She's gave you a definition of mind zoning and how it works. We're discussing mind zoning for the athlete. She's discussed the benefits of morning mind zoning. Now we're going to switch lanes. Christa, tell us the best ways for the student athlete to get more veggies on the plate.
This is my number one tip, and I give it to everyone, students, parents, adults, kids, toddlers, anything. The number one way to eat more vegetables is to imagine filling at least 50% of your plate with vegetables for every meal. So if you just remember that, 50% of my plate, every single meal needs to be vegetables. Then you build around that with high quality proteins and healthy fats. Like I always tell people, don't fear fat. So 50% of your plate is vegetables. And really, for a lot of people that are out there that are like, I hate vegetables, that's just your palate today. That doesn't mean that that's your palate tomorrow. And one of the best ways to increase your enjoyment of vegetables and how they taste is to actually reduce your sugar intake. When we're overloaded with sweets, that's all our brain craves because it fires up the reward center. So when we eat that steamed broccoli, it's like, so right. Get off the sugar. 50% of your plate is vegetables, but also incorporating healthy fats into that. So for example, I will take like broccoli spears and saute them in raw, unrefined organic coconut oil. And it just adds a really unique flavor to it. And then saute it with like aromatics like onions and garlic, and then put some great spices in there to really like give your palate something exciting to experience versus just overly cooked steamed vegetables like broccoli or Brussels sprouts like we used to have, when we were kids. There's really, it's easy with healthy fats, herbs, and getting off of sugar can really make vegetables taste better.
At the end of the day, parents, at the end of the day, coaches, you don't need a PhD in nutrition or dietary sciences to just eat, from a powerful standpoint and simplistic way to stay healthy and increase your longevity and also your sports performance and how you feel and function throughout the day. So go back, listen to this again. I really encourage you to listen to this again because I'm going to have to do it because Christa is delivering a lot of information in a short amount of time, and I like this. We're getting on to the 2-minute drill. Christa, they say all coaches borrow or steal their best ideas. What is one of the best things that you have learned or stolen from another coach?
Yes, so Buddha is a coach, and my favorite quote is, all that we are is a result of our thoughts. And I want all of your listeners to really just kind of take that in for a moment. Whatever our thoughts are, become all of us. Become our surroundings. So what I want to leave everyone with, just a note, the number one thing you can do in this next week is just pay attention to your thoughts. We are wired to have a negative thought pattern. It's from caveman days. It's what kept us safe from the saber-toothed tiger. But it doesn't work so well in today's society. So just become aware of those negative thoughts like, I don't have time to exercise. I don't like to eat vegetables. Whatever those negative statements are, catch those this week and just give yourself a positive reframe. I absolutely love vegetables. I have all the time. I can make healthy cooking a priority. I can make myself a priority. I want you to just tell those things. It's like fake it till you make it. But you're sending a message to your brain that this is who I am now. And over time, your brain will adopt that as a new thought pattern.
I like it.
Did I get that in 2 minutes?
Yes, you got that. Well, I have a few more, but I like it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. If you're playing baseball or softball this week, while you're playing catch, play catch with your thoughts. If you're throwing the football around, play catch with your thoughts too. Have some great hands with your thoughts for a change. Think about what you think about. Now, Christa, what's one of your favorite coaching or leadership books?
There's so many. I really struggle with this, and I am such a podcast listener. And so who I really listen to, I'll kind of use that as an example, is Lewis Howes. And I think your audience would really connect with him too, because he's a former pro athlete. And his entire podcast, while it's geared toward the entrepreneur, the guests that he has on and the things that he talks about, especially from his experience in sports, is really about engaging the power of the mind and how do you shift that mindset. So he's like one of my guru coaches. Like he's my business coach for sure.
What's the name of his podcast, Christa?
It's called The School of Greatness. I can't believe I was blanking on that. Yeah, Lewis Howes. If you just LEWISHOWES, Lewis Howes, School of Greatness.
Okay, I'll be sure to put that in the show notes. One last question. How can the audience find you and learn more about you?
Yeah, so there's a couple great ways to learn more about Fitlandia. Thank you for asking. They can go to fitlandiafitness.com and they can check out our memberships there. They'll also get a link that shows the detox programs that we run to help people's bodies reset. But they can also subscribe to the Fitlandia podcast, which is totally free. We bring in stories of transformation, people that have experienced their own lifestyle change. But I also bring in experts in nutrition, exercise, and the mental component too, because I like to bring all those together. And then we also have our free mind zoning app. So you can get that on iTunes. It's totally free. And it comes with 4 free mind zonings that you could do today.
Excellent. What do they look up on iTunes, Christa?
You could either search it by Fitlandia or Mind Zoning, and it'll pop right up for you.
Excellent. Was there anything else that you forgot to mention to leave us with one last nugget that you wanted to get off your chest?
Yeah, just my number one tip is be positive. Your brain is always acting on your thoughts, so make sure they're positive ones.
Excellent. I appreciate you taking the time to come on, Christa. This has been a wonderful interview. I can't wait to get this out to my audience.
My pleasure, Deshawn. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be on your show.